Good afternoon. It's Thursday, February 19th. Next week will be February 19th. I'm looking here. Next week is the last week of February. The birds are out. Spring is coming. It smells different here in northern New England. You can just smell it every once in a while. This is finding the Advaita or the non-dual in A Course in Miracles, courtesy of an open door made possible through Cindy Krupp, our illustrious and fearless leader. So welcome wherever you are, whenever you seem to be. Thank you for joining us for this hour of discourse on A Course in Miracles and how its teaching is just a direct teaching that essentially tries to bypass the egoic structure. And it does so in a way, I was thinking about this today, in the same way that the guides, you can just kind of listen to the guides because they speak in a tonal quality or vibration. A Course in Miracles does a lot of the same thing. So it gets to the truth from a number of different angles. And the direct path just tells you straight out, like, there's only one. And you can get that. Uh, and it's amazing when you do. And it hammers us over and over and over again with that. But what A Course in Miracles does is it kind of gently lifts up the curtain on the ego and shoves an idea in and lets it sit for a little while. And the ego goes kerfluffle, kerfluffle. And then A Course in Miracles lifts it up again and shoves another non-dual idea until finally there's this beautiful bubble that's been created of truth that the ego's resting in, and it doesn't even realize it as it's happening. So we're going to see that today as we get into the undivided will to heal, which is on page 298. And before we start that, I will just settle us in with our invocation, which sets the tone for us. It invites us to sit at this table where we can talk and share. And so the impulse comes together. And the quality of how we do gather, how we are together, how we talk, how we share, how we listen. This is our gift to the entire world. The purpose of every gathering is discovered in the gathering. It is to recognize beauty, to share the beauty, which is truth, and to love what is beautiful. And the truth is love itself. Conversation rises out of every particle of our being. It is all alive in source, as source, and with source. Welcome to this empty table, a cleared place where something new can happen. When you take the hands of someone you love, what do those hands become? So let us take each other's hands through time and space and look at chapter 8. The undivided will to heal. This section is really rather brilliant. It begins by telling us that we hold ourselves back from peace by refusing to learn what makes us peaceful. And it asks us to inquire deeply about whether the belief in the idea of separation has made us happy. So this whole first section is essentially an invitation to self-inquiry. It explains that we have to choose either separation or wholeness. And then we have to remain committed to that choice. And as we remain committed, we inquire about whether that commitment is making us happier or not. And so this is very similar to a non-dual teaching, but it uses very different language, a very different approach. And so I've got my pen and my little paper here, and I'm just going to ask Chuck to go first because Chuck always goes first. And then just raise your hand if you want to go. And if you don't raise your hand, I may call on you. If I call on you and you don't want to read, no problem. Just say no, thank you, and that will be fine. No problem. No one's forced to do anything here. But if you would like to read, raise your hand and I'll take your name. All right, Carol, you'll go after Chuck. Anybody else? Okay, May. I know Mel wants to read. And Josephine, would you like to read? And Alice? Okay, Alice, and then Josephine, if Josephine wants to. Um, Anyone can read. Okay, so we've got it. We got our list beginning. Now, as usual, I ask that you look carefully, and Chuck reminds us all the time how hard it is to see these underlines, but it does make a difference if you emphasize the word that's underlined. We're on page 298 of the Purple Book, and we're starting right at the beginning in the unconflicted curriculum. So as you read, look for that very light underline in the word if you can. And if you can, just emphasize it. If you can't, it's fine. It's no worries. There's no pressure to do this right.
We're on 298, you said?
Yes, page 298, the undivided, I'm sorry, 297.
Okay,
The undivided will to heal, 297. I have
at the
my
very
notes.
beginning, then you are hampered.
Yes, why don't you start right from the beginning? Chapter 8, the undivided will.
Okay. You are hampered in your progress by your demands to know what you do not know. This is actually a way of hanging on to deprivation. You cannot reasonably object to following instructions in a course for knowing on the grounds that you do not know. The need for the course is implicit in your objection. Knowledge is not the motivation factor for learning this course. Peace is. The prerequisite for knowledge, peace must be learned. This is only because those who are in conflict are not peaceful, and peace is the condition of knowledge because it is the condition of the kingdom.
Whoa. So there, anything stand out in that for anyone?
Peace, the emphasis of peace.
Yes. If you get only that, then you're there. Peace is the objective of the course, or an objective of the course, and that learning, true learning, happens in peace. Right? It's a prerequisite for knowledge, not for thinking, not for the knowledge of the world, but for knowledge, true knowledge, right? And it also says we have to learn peace, doesn't it? Like we think we should just know it, like we should just feel it. But it tells us we have to learn peace, right? And then it tells us right in the beginning, though, it starts to undermine the sense of egoic learning by telling us you don't know what you don't know. When you think you know what you need to know, you put an obstacle in your learning capacity. Right? So, in other words, let go of everything that you think you need to know, but open to the fact that knowledge is learned is that peace is a prerequisite to knowledge, and you don't really know what peace is yet, or you don't know how to attain it, right? So that's really tearing things open right from the beginning, isn't it? Yeah.
Amy,
Joseph.
I'm struck by the teaching that our needing to, our demand to learn. It's called here knowledge, but it's learning, and the intensity with which we pursue our learning is not supported here. It's almost the opposite. Stop demanding, stop needing, stop feeling that you don't know. Just go at it peacefully and open-minded and open-hearted and open-handed, and it will come to you. That is a big teaching for me.
It's a big teaching.
I'm very anxious to learn and to know and to study and to pursue. Well, no, don't do any of that. Start out with peace, even though peace is what you're striving for.
That's a wonderful observation. I really appreciate that. Um, what I hear in that is that the small self doesn't know, and that you have to step aside and let the information, the knowledge, the peace, the knowledge come through you. It's not going to be learned by the small self, right?
Hmm.
Right? It's going to happen for you. Like who's demanding to know? The egoic self. The small self is demanding, like I want my peace right now in the way that I understand peace, and I want it to happen now. And I'm going to make it happen. This is telling you to get out of your own way. Yeah, exactly, Josephine. Thank you. Um, Anybody else?
Yeah, I was. What stuck for with is this being in conflict. You're not in peace, which is like sort of way stating the obvious. But it's like if our learning mode is to kind of fuss with it and to you know diagram the sentences and what you know what I mean. Like I think that stuff for me. Like when I'm trying to learn by fighting with it, and some
You
that
know, Alice, that's a that I appreciate your saying that. As we read through this, the word conflict is really important that Alice brought up, because who's in conflict with what? And the underlying message that's kind of being shoved under the egoic blanket here is be with what is. Don't be in conflict with what is, right? And so look for that. It doesn't say that outright, but that's really the message here, right? So let's look for that as we keep going. And Carol's going to take us into paragraph 2. Thank you for that, Alice.
Okay. Um, Knowledge will be restored when you meet its conditions. This is not a bargain made by God, who made no bargains at all. It is merely the result of your misuse of his laws on behalf of a will that was not his. Knowledge is his will. If you are opposing his will, how can you have knowledge? I have told you what knowledge offers you, but it is clear that you do not regard this as wholly desirable. If you did, you would hardly be willing to throw it away so readily when the ego asks for your allegiance.
Okay, what does anybody get from that paragraph?
That we're coming from ignorance because we're coming from an experience, a chosen experience of ignorance.
Yeah.
And now it's recognizing, oh, oops, or time to change the experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just knowing the you as the dreamer, and then being like, oh, okay, I'm taking those rights, and I'm just, and then the gifts, like it just shows you, like when you lean into the, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the boundless self fullness. There's nothing there. There is that the element of the world that pulls you out of it, but it's that knowledge as fuel for the perfect like potentiality that you holding that is going to just ricochet it everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is peace. It's knowing that everyone has that kernel of peace in them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So knowledge will be restored when you, the egoic self, when you meet its conditions. And this is not a bargain. You get a little clue here, like, what are those conditions?
Yeah.
Right? What are they? And there's a clue here. This is not a bargain made by God, who makes no bargains at all. So what this is saying is, do not bargain with reality. The condition is, don't bargain with reality. Reality is. And I put something from the text up, right, in the chat. And I want to use that because that's another clue to what this is saying. God makes no bargains, right? It says the ego is a wrong-minded attempt to perceive yourself as you wish to be. Not just yourself, but all things as you wish them to be. Like, I want to wear a black hat today and not a blue hat, but God only gave me a black hat, so I'm going to be upset about that. Or I don't like that I woke up with a stomach ache this morning and I'm going to be in resistance to that because I don't like being in a body. Well, the reality is you woke up with a stomach ache. So deal with the stomach ache, but stop resisting it, right? So it's an attempt to perceive yourself as you wish to be, which is to argue with reality rather than as you are, right? Just as you are.
It's just
Well,
And yet,
opportunity. Yeah.
yeah, and
we're
yet,
hanging on to our belief in separation.
yes, and yet you can only know yourself as you are in the moment now. That's the only thing that you can know. And that's all you can be sure of is what is arising now. Right? This is the hit. Everything else is open to question. So that's what this is. Knowledge will be restored when you meet its conditions. That means when you are at peace with what is. Right? This is not a bargain made by God. You don't get to bargain with that because God is. Right? God is just what it is, right? Knowledge is God's will. If you are opposing God's will is what is. If you are opposing what is, you are opposing God's will. That's what this is saying, right?
So, Amy, so the undivided will to heal, it's really there and it's saying, look, this is what's happening. I'm trying to talk to you as if you have some part in coming along for the ride, but it's this is it.
Yes. I'm gently trying to convince you that you have no choice. I'm not going to
Yeah,
tell you that you don't have any choice, but the truth is you don't, right?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but it's doing this in the most beautiful way, in the
Yeah.
most gentle way, because that's what the if and the course says this so often. if we taught you that you were wrong, if we just said you're wrong, then you would be opposed to it. You would resist the teaching. It doesn't want you to resist the teaching. It wants you to understand the teaching, right? Because it's love. It's loving, right? So, so it says, I've told you what knowledge offers you, but it's clear you do not regard this as wholly desirable. In other words, you want to keep arguing with the truth, because if you did, you would hardly be willing to throw it away so readily when the ego asks for your allegiance. The ego is asking for your allegiance when its thought system of separation says, I don't like what's happening here and I'm going to change it, right? I'm in charge. I don't like what's going on and I'm going to resist it. I don't love it. God can't be here in this instant. Right. All right. So, paragraph 3, this is a paragraph that tells us to do a little bit of self-inquiry, and it's asking us to evaluate whether arguing with reality brings us peace or not. And so May is going to take this one.
The distraction of the ego seems to interfere with your learning, but it has no power to distract you unless you give it the power. The ego's voice is a hallucination. You cannot expect the ego to tell you, I am not real. Hallucinations are inaccurate perceptions of reality, but you are not asked to dispel them alone. You are merely asked to evaluate them in terms of their results to you. If you do not want them on the basis of loss of peace, they will be removed from your mind for you. You just have to ask. It's just like, there's opportunity. It's seeing it's the guide's same teaching of seeing an opportunity instead of, letting it just inform itself into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's asking us to say, what makes me happy, you know? And so if the ego's sense of separate self is truly investigated and found to be lacking, and we rest in what is, we just rest in what is, whatever it is that's arising, as an extension, knowing that we are the self, the big S self, the extension of the absolute infinite, then the hallucinations of the egoic thought system will be removed from your mind for you. Now, what this is saying isn't that God or the Holy Spirit reaches down and personally takes the thought of separation from you. It's not saying that. It sounds like it a little, but it's not saying that. It is saying that the acceptance of what is removes the barrier to the experience of pure being, right? It allows you to recognize in yourself that state of truth as the witness to reality arising in the moment. Right? That's what it's saying. It will be removed for you. Why? Because you're just returning to your natural state of non-resistance. But it's asking, this paragraph says, look at when you're happy and when you're not. Right? We're giving you the tools to look at whether you're happy or not. Right? When you trust in the Holy Spirit, and this is not a direct path teaching. This is not a non-dual, because you're trusting in something that seems to be outside yourself. But that's a step, that's a progressive step that says, at least I don't think I know, right? I don't think I know what's best for me. I don't know what's best for me, and I may not like what's happening now, but I'm going to give that to the Holy Spirit, and then I'm going to investigate and see what happens when I do that, right? That's the little willingness, right? So if I do that over and over, I just say, I don't like it. I know I don't like it. I just don't like it. I don't know what it's for. I do the Indigo thing. It makes me angry. I can tell God I'm angry. Um, but I'm going to give it over to the Holy Spirit ultimately. And then I'm going to see what happens.
Mhm.
And I do that over and over and over again. And pretty soon a pattern develops and I go, oh, right. I see what's happening here. And then that is peace. And that creates a condition for knowledge, right? I take that first step. I turn everything over to the Holy Spirit. I feel at peace now because I don't feel responsible. And now that opens me up so that knowledge can enter. And what will that knowledge be? I don't know. But it may be a non-dual teaching. It may be a direct experience because now you are open and at peace. Right? Does that make sense? That's what this is saying here, And you don't have to be a diligent non-dual student, like of never accepting help because I know I'm one with God and I know that, so I don't need any help. That is just the ego talking, right? If it helps you to ask for help, ask for help. Know as you're asking who is asking and where the help is coming from. But if it helps and it feels soothing for you to do that, do it. Even Rupert Spira, when he was asked, do you pray to God? Said, yes, I pray. I do. Because in the dream, even though I know that it's a dream, I also know there's something that I don't see. And we see that right up in the first paragraph. My demand to know what I do not know can get in the way of learning, right? So I don't know what I don't know. So it's okay to ask for help. Why not? You see what I'm saying? It's fine. It's good. Mel's going to take us to paragraph 4.
All right. Every response to the ego is a call to war, and war does deprive you of peace. Yet in this war, there is no opponent. This is the reinterpretation of reality which you must make to secure peace, and the only one you need ever make. Those whom you perceive as opponents are part of your peace, which you are giving up by attacking them. How can you have what you give up? You share to have, but you do not give it up yourself. When you give up peace, you are excluding yourself from it. This is a condition which is so alien to the kingdom that you cannot understand the state which prevails within it.
Okay. Anybody have any thoughts about this one? So
Yeah.
take it, Carol.
It's all it. There's only one thing. There's
Yeah.
only that. And unknowingly cutting itself off, it's not whole.
Exactly.
And it's just coming to recognize that.
And this paragraph talks about dealing with another person, like when
Yeah.
you're in conflict with another person, but it applies to being in conflict with a situation as well. Being in conflict with an emotion, being in a conflict with a thought or an idea, like I shouldn't be having this thought or I shouldn't be feeling this way, right?
But it's still awareness, recognizing that it is awareing or experiencing itself simultaneously as in a world of time and space, which creates separation.
Yeah.
So it's just like it doesn't change. There's still always going to be the ego mind because that's what a mind is. It's thoughts and memories. It's just being able to recognize that, yeah, it's like it's there. So what?
Right. So this is kind of a Byron Katie thing. It's a being in love with what is, right? And this is being at war with what is. Byron
Yeah.
Katie says loving what is, right? It's the same thing.
Do you think that loving what is loving it or
Mhm.
allowing it, being able to say, just, I don't get it, but whatever, it is what it is.
What do
Because
you
I don't
think?
embrace everything,
I like that
but
word allowing.
yeah, because that's what love means now. It's
Yes, and
not always this lovely, wonderful, all of that stuff. It's everything.
yeah, yeah. I have some thoughts about that, Carol, that come from Sandra Erickson, and we all know Sandra. And then I'll say this, and then Cindy's gonna. When we really become, I'm going to use a Nando term, really big S self-realized, and we are fully anchored in our identity as the eternal infinite. And we rest in that, and there's no doubt about it. Then it is entirely possible to love even pain because it's an experience that we are having as the infinite indivisible. But few of us really get there. And so I would say that what you said, Carol, and what Chuck said is that is just fine.
Yeah,
Allowing,
because like hurt's so good, bittersweet. It's
yes,
all the same thing.
yes,
So it doesn't have to appear like happiness, exhilaration, I want more.
yeah,
It's all still both sides.
yes,
So it is love or because it's all a call for love or love, but it's still all the same thing. It's just two sides of the same coin.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. That's a great question. It took me a while when I read, Loving What Is. I was like, well, screw that. I don't get that. It took me a while to sort of figure that one out. Um, Cindy, good to have you join us in this conversation.
Every once in a while. Um, I'm just inspired to share direct experience that I find I am able to live in more and more, like right now. And oh, there's tears here. So I am right now, I don't know if you are, but I am right now aware of the space in this room. I can taste it. I don't know if you can, but I can like taste and feel. I imagine May might be able to if you just expand awareness like right now. And I almost like I walk around in it. Like I could feel the space in this room. And this space, it really hit me when I was in the insanity of the few weeks in New Jersey recently. I recognized that when I got still and I was in the dyad that the space hadn't changed. The space was exactly the same as the space that's here. I noticed it when I was in Mexico. I noticed it when I was in Canada. I noticed it, I noticed that the space always feels the same and it doesn't matter where this body is. And in that deepening, in that recognition, I recognized that I must be that space because this keeps changing. But no matter where this is, the space is the same. And even as I'm speaking right now, I am fully aware of how neutral and open, and if you want to use the word peaceful, but that's too much. The space is there's a quote from Nisargadatta Maharaj that Diane quoted a lot. My friend Diane, um, the emptiness that sings, the emptiness that's full, the silence that sings. I could taste that in the space, and held within that space, there's physical sensation, there's emotion, there's story. But the thing is, I now know all of that is fully allowed because I am the space, which is so much larger than that, and what's going on in here is included in that, but doesn't imprison me within it. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
I think
So
that's what Paul, it's the divine emissary, it's the lighthouse. It's just it's accessing thought in the way where you understand that your awareness is precisely that
so
pointing.
yeah, I could just like right now I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
And for a while, I was playing with this game where the mind was so loud saying, "You're not." But I recognized if I am aware that this space is the same, whether I'm here or in New Jersey or Canada or Mexico, the only way that that awareness exists is if I am in the space. So I am the space. And Cindy rises and the other thing about that, and there's chills here, is that the Cindy that's here ain't the same as the Cindy that was in New Jersey and wasn't the same as the Cindy in Mexico. So the Cindy, regardless of what the mind's telling me right now, is a wave, and I'm the space. So within the wave, everything's allowed. And there were a lot of times when I was in New Jersey where, man, that wave was insane. But so what? Do you know what I mean? Does that, I don't know
Yeah,
if I,
that's I think that's the equalized movement. That's just it's your agreement to being able to perceive things in that space. Because I get that like that too with like especially my family. I'm just like, oh my God, like it's just like really overwhelming. But there are moments where I'm able to like conduct because
well, yeah,
it's conducting. Yeah. It's
well, it's even less than that, May. You're giving it you're giving it more action than I'm experiencing. As this space, it's almost like Cindy's just rising and falling. And yeah, I yelled at my mother. I don't remember the last time I raised my voice, but man, I screamed at her for a good, like the whole thing took 2 minutes. But I was able to look at this woman and tell her she was mean and tell her that once in a while she should say thank you and she's got to say, I haven't done that in 63 years, right? And the body's like shaking, but I did it in the awareness and I came up and I got still and the body finished shaking like a duck. It shaked it all off and it changed the experience with my mother. Like it just went away after that. It was so there's no like May, you're talking the only choice Cindy ever has now is whether or not she's going to do her practice, her contemplation. The rest of it just happens. But anyway, I just wanted to share that because I'm literally living in that more and more. And whenever I talk about it, I step right into it now. It's really extraordinary. So yeah, the Cindy wave can be really pissed off, could feel really heavy, can get really tired, could hate the moment, but the space, the awareness of the space is stunning
Yeah.
and it's
Uh,
unaffected by it.
Atmananda talks about that, and I can't remember exactly where, but it's essentially that there is a container that holds all the movement, and that container is empty and open and infinite, and that's what we are. And that is a recognition that most people don't have. They don't experience it, not because they just don't experience it consciously, but it is what we are. We just don't recognize that it's happening. We don't recognize that it is. We think of ourselves so much, our focus is so much on the body. We don't lose that focused perception. We go through our whole life not losing it,
So can
constantly
I,
in response.
yeah,
And
um,
so when we quiet, which is why this chapter that we're reading begins telling us that peace is a prerequisite to knowledge. Cindy's understanding and experience, her knowledging of that empty, open space that is Cindy, but not Cindy, that is the awareness that Cindy is happening within it, is experienced because Cindy has chosen peace, and it's in peace that that is recognized. I think that's what you're saying.
Well, the other thing I want to add is it's already up. The conversation this afternoon that Mel led was stunning. And there was a moment in it where when David Brooks was talking about the gorilla, I had never realized, that the gorilla in the bath, I think everyone's seen that thing where there's a video and you're asked to count the number of baskets that the red team has. And afterwards, the person looks at you and says, "Did you see the gorilla?" And no one ever sees the gorilla. And then you go and replay it, and a man in a gorilla suit walks out into the middle of the stage and waves and walks out. David Brooks pointed to this recognition that that gorilla didn't exist until you knew it was a possibility.
Mm.
So as I'm speaking this to you, there's this recognition that if you accept the possibility that you can be aware of yourself as the space and watch the Chuck character rise and fall or this experience and fully experience it, but not be imprisoned by it. That's the word I seem to like to use. Like if my sharing my experience is like my telling you that there's a gorilla on the court. It's now it's a possibility for us. It may not be a possibility for 99% of the human population because it's not a possibility in their awareness, but it's now a possibility in your awareness. So I think that's extraordinary. And Mel, that was a great hour this afternoon.
Oh, thank you. Well, and I would add too, Cindy, that same sense of awareness is throughout all time. Because I can recall, as a small child, that same awareness that was aware of that child. And it's the same awareness that's here now. It carries beyond time and space. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Rupert Spira talked about that, and I don't know if it was The Nature of Consciousness or what book it was, where he realizes as he's getting on a plane to go somewhere to do a teaching that he never leaves. He's never left at all. Which is, yeah. Oh, all right. Shall we let's see. Mel, you read, and it's Alice's turn, I think, to read paragraph 5. And paragraph 5, I find to be a brilliant paragraph, but let's have Alice read and see what we get.
Your past learning must have taught you the wrong things simply because it has not made you happy. On this basis alone, its value should be questioned. If learning aims at change, and that is always its purpose, are you satisfied with the changes yours has brought you? Dissatisfaction with the learning outcome must be a sign of learning failure because it means that you did not get what you want.
Now, what the ego will tell you is that learning failure is your fault, right? It never says, oh, the ego's thought system is not a good teaching. It tells you to keep searching, right? Yeah, keep searching, which is what Josephine pointed out to us right in the beginning, right? That's why this starts with you don't know what you don't know, right? Yeah, right. So I love that because it basically does this self-inquiry for us, right? It doesn't offer another curriculum yet, like the curriculum of the Holy Spirit, but it shows us that what we've been learning with the egoic thought system has not and never will give us peace. It will never create the environment for true learning, right? So this paragraph, when I read it, what it struck me like was this paragraph is clearing the field of your mind from the weeds before planting the idea in the next couple of paragraphs that will replace the egoic thought system with the thought system of the Holy Spirit. Right?
We
See
don't
what
say we must, we don't say that we were taught the wrong things. We thought we are dumb enough not to understand.
Yeah,
We put the fault on us rather than,
exactly.
I mean, I've done that a lot. I don't
I did that
speak
I
for
mean, how many
everybody
of
else.
us, yeah. How many of us blamed ourselves for not being at peace? I must be doing something wrong,
Mhm.
right? Right. And this just is saying
This
no.
is saying that it was wrong what they were trying to teach you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Carol.
Yeah, and yet that is absolutely perfect because it's all of it.
Right.
And it goes about saying, well, you know, that this wasn't right or this wasn't wrong. And so personhood goes, oh, yeah, geez, you know, society screwed me up and blah, 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 blah. It's all part of it. And then when there's the recognition of that and the perception changes, it's like, oh my God, it's the recognition that it's one thing that is absolutely everything. It's like known that it's an exploration of every little particle, like your what you always say at the beginning, Amy, every little aspect, and then recognizing, oh, it's the whole thing,
So
seen in little segments.
okay, what I'm hearing you say, Carol, is this is talking about right and wrong, like learning the right things or the wrong things. And what I'm hearing you say is you can't learn anything wrong because it's all part of the one whole.
Yes.
Okay.
So you can't have right without wrong or wrong without right either. Each is a light to each other.
Yeah,
There
it's
can't be
momentum.
whole. Yeah, it's all
It's
that
the rubber
is.
band of the, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like and so, but it's the experience that has to be gone through
Yes.
to finally realize, oh my God, it's everything. It's even beyond what can be known in this experience of time and space.
And so what this is a perfect pointer at the perfect time from the perfect oneness, pointing us to self-inquiry, right? It's pointing
Yeah,
us to self-inquiry, and it does it really brilliantly. You know, it says, has the curriculum that you've been following brought you peace? That's all. You answer it for yourself. It's not telling you that you need to do X, Y, or Z. It's just asking you to inquire and decide for yourself because you're free to do so, right? Which I love. So let's do paragraph 6, and Josephine is going to read paragraph 6 for us.
The curriculum of the atonement is the opposite of the curriculum you established for yourself, but so is its outcome. If the outcome of yours has made you unhappy, and if you want a different outcome, a change in the curriculum is obviously necessary. The first change that must be introduced is a change in direction. A meaningful curriculum cannot be inconsistent. If it is planned by two teachers, each believing in dramatically opposed ideas, it cannot be integrated. If it is carried out by these two teachers simultaneously, each one merely interferes with the other. This leads to fluctuation, but not to change. The volatile have no direction. They cannot choose one because they cannot relinquish the others, even if the others do not exist. Their conflicted curriculum teaches them that all directions exist and gives them no rationale for choice.
Would you read paragraph 7? Would you keep reading it? Because that is a continuation of the idea.
Mhm.
Thank you.
The total senselessness of such a curriculum must be fully recognized before a real change in direction becomes possible. You cannot learn simultaneously from two teachers who are in total disagreement about everything. Their joint curriculum presents an impossible learning task. They are teaching you entirely different things in entirely different ways, which would be possible except for the crucial fact that both are teaching you about yourself. Your reality is unaffected by both. But if you listen to both, your mind will split in what your reality is.
Pretty powerful.
Yeah, listen to both.
Yeah. You cannot listen to both. You have to choose one or the other. Right? And we choose all the time. You don't just choose once, you choose all the time. Right? So you have to change directions. You go from the egoic direction, which says, I'm in control even though I'm not, to the direction of one will, the undivided will. Right? The paragraph is kind of, it's definitely progressive. This is a progressive teaching, but it's learning over and over and over again which direction brings you peace, which direction brings you peace, right? Lasting peace, not just a peace of the moment, but lasting peace. So I'm going to read paragraph 8, and then that will be the last paragraph we'll read. There is a rationale for choice. Only one teacher knows what your reality is. If learning that is the purpose of the curriculum, you must learn it of him. The ego does not know what it is trying to teach. It is trying to teach you what you are without knowing it. The ego is expert only in confusion. It does not understand anything else. As a teacher, then, it is totally confused and totally confusing. Right? So this is kind of a dualistic paragraph because it implies that there's someone or something outside of you that you can choose to learn from. Like you can choose to learn from the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is just your essential big S self. It's your teacher, but it isn't outside of you, right? It's your own voice that's penetrating the dream and waking the part of your own mind up from the sleep that you've put yourself in. And this sort of brings me back to what did we call it? The anugraha. The anugraha. Yeah, Elizabeth says, I get that that in its bizarre way. Yeah, yeah. And so last week we looked at the Advaitic term, the anugraha, which is the essential nature of the self or Atman. And the anugraha is what we call the Holy Spirit. It's the essential nature of the self that guides us back out of the dream It's always present, never not present as your guide toward liberation from the ego's teachings, right? From the egoic thought system. So the Holy Spirit is the anugraha that is always with us, that is guiding us towards complete liberation from the dream or from the ego's thought system. It's the same thing. Same thing. Mel, you're going to close us out here.
Okay, but so you don't have to learn anything, right? It's more of you say of a recognition. That's what the course says too. You don't have to learn anything. You're already complete and whole.
Right.
Yeah. It's yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But if it said that directly to the ego, then the ego would say, "Oh, I'm done." Right? And then it would stay asleep. But it's just God calling to itself. It's just Atman calling to Atman. That's all it is. So you're right. You don't have to do anything. It's going to happen. It's already happened.
Yeah. Kind of what Josephine said earlier too. It's you don't have to strive or It's
No. Thank you. But we love to get together because we love loving on each other. Right. Cindy's going to close us out.
Well, I'm just the image, I'm sure other people have shared it, but I have it in Helen Hamilton teaching it, is of the ice cube in the glass of water, right? And if you look at the ego as the ice cube, and if you just leave it alone, it will melt back into the water, and it'll just be what it has always been. So as I was listening to Mel just now, like we're not going anywhere. The ice cube isn't going anywhere. It's just merging back into the fluidity of its truth.
Yeah, no expectations.
No. And that's why this is, let me read what Elizabeth says here before it does suggest that the ego can be redirected and taught, although understanding is not necessary. Yes. And in a sense, it's bizarre, as you said in your first chat, the ego can be taught that it doesn't exist, right? And that's why the progressive path is the progressive path, because it's teaching the ego that it doesn't exist, but it's doing it in a completely indirect way. It's doing it in a way that doesn't challenge the ego, because if it did, the ego would just dig its heels in, right? And this is the progressive path explanation, right? There's no ego. It's a hallucination. It doesn't exist. It's an experience that Atman, the divine infinite, is giving itself and enjoying itself. And it calls itself back to itself. And the ego has nothing to do with any of it, right? But we are here to extend love, which is why we love being together here and reminding ourselves together of what we are in truth, right? And we do this because this world experience that we've given to ourselves is so well designed to pull us away from the knowledge, the true knowledge of what we are. And so we come as comrades, as beloveds to each other, right? To share with each other about the truth of what we are. And that's what we're doing. And it's so enjoyable.
And that's what makes attention the rarest and most purest form of generosity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it actually, it says this right in the first, oh, where is it? I can't find it, but it essentially says that sharing this is what we are meant. It's what we're supposed to be doing, right? It's what we're supposed to be doing. So thank you for being here. Next week we'll start on paragraph 9, so we'll just pick up right in the middle of it. But I'll remind us of how we got to paragraph 9, so we won't just blunder right in. But yeah, Elizabeth, so helpful to remind each other, especially the insane disruptions that used to not matter. So yeah, blessings to you too. Thank you for all of your wisdom and your sharing and your willingness to be here and to share your divine self in this world that we have dreamed up. It's such a beautiful thing. So come again, whoever you are. And you know who you are when you know you're the self. But you're wandering and you're worshiping the fire and you're loving leaving and coming back again. So, wanderer, fire worshiper, lover of leaving. This is not a caravan of despair. And it doesn't matter that you've broken your vows 1,000 times. Still come and yet again. So, see you next week. We'll continue our sharing together and our just being our divine selves. I love us so much, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Amy. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Amy, for
Thank
doing
you.
this.